All right, here we are in Pécs, and we are going to do another question that was not on the board. Women should stay home and raise the children. We decided on that question, yes? Okay. So women should stay home and raise the children. Strongly agree, agree. Strongly disagree, disagree. Everybody ready? Don't move until I say move. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, move. Okay. Tell us why you disagree.
Well, I think it's a question about how you put this statement. So it's not only the woman who should stay at home and raise the children. I know they are their mother. They are their primary source of everything, basically.
You guys need to listen because I'm going to ask you about, yeah.
Basically, and but I think it should be a responsibility that's shared between both parents. So I think men or fathers should they also should take their part in raising the children.
Okay. So women should stay home and raise the children. You disagree. Tell us why.
I think it's a question of from the person, you know. I think it changes.
Can you
from
guys
person.
hear her? Tell them. So tell them.
I think it changes from person to person. For example, my mom only stayed home with me for as long as it was like for me to survive, you know. And then I was put in daycare, and she went back to work because we couldn't afford her not working. We needed the money. And then there is my friend whose mom is a homemaker. She stays at home, she takes care of the house, and she raised him. He had a great childhood. I had a great childhood. I don't think that the childhood or the life of the kid depends whether there's the mom or a parent, for that matter, stays home with them or not.
Okay. I'm coming to you. Tell us why you agree that women should stay home and raise the children. Tell them particularly.
Okay. For example, there's a special connection between the child and her mother. For example, when the mother is breastfeeding her child, it makes a connection between them, and a father can't do this connection. Or, for example, it's a setting, but women's now maybe getting a little bit lower salary. It's a very setting, but men maybe could get more money to home.
So there are two main reasons. Is you think there's a special connection between women and children,
Yes.
and men can make more money, and so
more they can than
more than women.
It's a setting, but now we are living this world.
Do you agree with what he said?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a special connection between the child and the mother, but I don't think that necessarily in every case a man makes more money than the woman. The other thing is, I must slightly agree because I think about this as a default setting, but there's like a marriage, it consists of two people, and they have to talk about it. If the man wants to stay home and raise the child, then that's okay. Sure.
Tell them.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Then let the woman go to work and do whatever they want to. But I think about this as a default setting mostly because of Hungarian cultural reasons, because it's in our culture.
What's in your culture?
Well, we're in Europe, and as in most of Europe, our country is also based on Christian values.
Tell them.
Yeah, it's also based on Christian values, which states that, like in a traditional family model, the man provides for the family and protects the family, but the woman stays home and raises the children and gives the children what they need. That doesn't mean the man isn't in the life of the children. That does not mean that, but this is like a default setting.
What do you think of that?
Yes,
Tell him.
I agree with you that this is the default setting, but what about those people who don't follow the Christian rules? So, for example, my family isn't Christian, so I don't really agree with these principles, and I find them a little bit too conservative for my preferences. So that's why I think it should be a mutual thing to share between the two parents.
What do you think about the default setting and the
I-
Christian values?
I think that you cannot rule a country based on a religion, whether it's Christian or not Christian, but that's another question. I think that most women don't have a problem with staying home with the kids. They have a problem with the consequences that come with it. Like they are looked down, that they are negatively discriminated because they don't work, they just with the kids. It's viewed as a lazy or a negative thing, and sometimes they even get abused in the household by their spouse or by the husband. Like the husband comes home and he's like, "Where's the beer? Where's the food? Why isn't the house cleaned?" And women have a
Are
problem.
you married?
No, women have a problem with that. I don't think that there's. I have a problem with that. I wouldn't want to stay home because of this. I don't want to be viewed as someone who's just raising kids.
Can you understand her point of view?
Yes, but I think communication is the point. You need to communicate with your partner, and for me, it's a normal thing when I will be married, and for example, my wife will raise our child, and she's working at home all day. When I came back from work, I will, for example, do the washing up, or just be with our child at the night or at the evening. So I think you need to communicate with your partner.
So one thing, this is what I heard you say. Tell me if this is right. So that women in this society, when they stay home with the kids, they're not viewed the same way as men who go to work. They're viewed kind of, is that lower or lesser? Can is that do you, not do you agree, but do you understand that position?
I understand that position, but I think it's a personal thing. So somebody don't treat women's at home like men's at work, but I think some people thinking it about equal rights and equal uh, treatment.
If women were treated, if society viewed women in the home with children better, would you be willing to move a line to slightly disagree?
Yes, I would, and I agree with his statement that you should communicate it, but it's not that easy sometimes. You see a lot of marriages ending in a divorce because when they started the marriage and then they had kids, it was all perfect. They were communicating, but then they burned out. The love faded, or life happens, and I see a lot of people when you ask when you ask a woman, what do you do? What's your job? And they say, well, I'm raising my kids. They're like, yeah, well, everyone can do that. That's not a job. I'm working and I'm also raising kids. Like, why don't you work? I think if women wouldn't be viewed as less just because they are not in an office working, they are at home with the children, then more women would want to stay home.
So the main issue that you have with women should stay home and raise the children is that there's a social perception of women being kind of not as good as it being a lesser. Do you agree with that?
Well, I think it's more about finances because some families just can't afford to lose a parent due to having a child and that parent staying home just to raise the child. So, for example, when my mom had me, she didn't stay at home with me for long because we just couldn't afford it. So, and also my dad didn't have a job actually at the time. So it was my dad who stayed at home with me, but not from his choice. He just didn't have anything else to do. And then I wasn't enrolled in, I don't know how you say it in English, but it's pre-kindergarten.
Daycare, I think.
Daycare, yeah. Thanks. So I was enrolled in daycare because when my dad had a job, both my parents just went to do their work. And yeah, I think I was perfectly raised. So
That's an amazing thing to say, that you were perfectly raised. Do you understand the argument that she made about finances and the importance of money for a family?
Yeah, sure. So on the one hand, she said that she and her family aren't Christians, and that's completely perfect. That's okay. But it's an exception, and we cannot project an exception to society as a whole. So that's one point. And then she said that.
What do you mean by that? Like, I don't. What do you mean?
So, Hungarian culture is based on Christianity, and if someone doesn't follow that, that's okay. But they are not the majority, and I think that in this case, and I mean in every societal case, we are talking about the majority and society as a whole, and not about the exceptions. That's okay if there's an exception. As I said, I think this is a default setting, and if the parents or the two people in the marriage talk about it and they say that the father should stay home, that's okay, completely okay. I said this is a default setting. The other thing she said, we cannot rule a country based on religion. That's also right, but think about it, what we have in our constitution and in our laws. Do not kill. Do not cheat in your marriage. Or do not...
Is that a law? That's a law?
I mean, if you do cheat, then at divorce, you won't get anything because you're at fault.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Why do you need the religion to not do that? Like,
you
why-
don't need a religion, but the law is based on the religion. You see, so the law, do not kill, for example, was first written in the Bible. It was known previously, but as a written and societal norm, it is based in Christianity.
So I just want to make sure I understand. So you think that women should stay home and raise the children, but you only slightly agree, and one of the reasons is because of the Christian values of the country.
Yes, but as I said, it's a default setting, and if in the marriage the two people talk about it, and they think that the woman should go to work and the man should stay home, that's also fine. But this is a default setting. They have to talk about it.
Okay.
And sorry. Just another thing, the finances. Yeah, both my parents work, and both my parents worked when I was born. But they all both had the lucky thing that they could juggle it, and one of them was always home, basically. But yeah, I understand that completely, and then that's a thing where both parents have to work and then juggle how to do that. And also, sorry, just the last thing, women who stay home and raise the children, I mean, that's the most awesome and most beautiful thing. And if someone says anything else, they're completely wrong.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. Final set of questions. What would it take to make you move to the strongly disagree? What would you have to learn? For the question, women should stay home and raise the children. What would it take for you to strongly disagree?
Would you mind giving me a minute to think about that?
Absolutely. This is a difficult question. What would it take for you to move to strongly disagree? Oh, don't cheat. Move over the line a little more. Okay, go ahead.
I think nothing would make me go there because someone has to stay home for like a couple of months after birth to raise the children. So I don't strongly disagree with this sentence.
What would it take to move you to the slightly disagree?
I think nothing because I'm pretty convinced of my opinion.
So you're very confident that you're on the right line.
Well, it's not right for everyone, but
For you, for you.
me, it is. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Would you be on a different line if that question, women should stay home and raise the children, wasn't just for you, but the whole society? Would you stand on a different line?
No.
Okay. What would it take for you to move to strongly agree?
I think I heard a lot of opinions about, for example, this conversation and before, and I won't go to strongly agree because I mostly go to slightly agree, for example, because that word should, and I said about before about conversation, and I don't like the should. They shouldn't, but they can maybe.
So you'd consider moving to slightly agree. Did anything that they said convince you to move over to a line to slightly agree?
Well, not just them, but when I started to thinking about this question while we had a conversation, and I just remembered my before talks. I could go to slightly.
Would you like to move to slightly agree?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. All right, excellent. What would it take you to either move to the agree or to the neutral? Because he was swayed by their reasons. What would it take you to move to the neutral or to the agree?
Well, I don't think I would move to agree because I said this is a default setting for me.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't say that the woman absolutely must stay home. I wouldn't say that in any case. I mean, I would move to neutral if there would be, I mean, social stigmas or something like that surrounding women staying home and still raising the children. If that would be the case, then I would say then we have to talk about that and we have to.
But we know
sort
that's
it
the
out.
case.
I mean, not in all cases, I don't think so, because if someone, as I said, if someone doesn't think that a woman staying home and raising her child is the most beautiful thing in the world, then they are wrong. And they have to learn that they are wrong.
What if a lot of people in the society are wrong? Would you move to the neutral? Like if I could do polls and I could go
Yeah.
out and would you move to the neutral?
I would.
Okay. Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you?
Naturally, I just want to say I thought I agree with him. Then raising a child is a beautiful thing, and for example, my mother, when my sister born, she just worked and raised my sister at the same time, and I totally respectful women's that's who doing this. the same way.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. It was really good. That was really nice.